All right, greetings, class, and welcome to week number two. That is right, week number two of your 9449 class, which is your basically your business reference class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin. And what we are going to do this week is going to be a state of the course update, and then we are actually just going to we're going to look at the correct answers for for last week's worksheet, the worksheet for Business Source Premier, Business Source Complete. The reason that we are going to do that, I actually did want to originally discuss something else, but given how things played out with how that worksheet was done, I do want to go over those answers and just kind of, well, I think one thing that needs to be communicated here, and for those of you who already work reference, and I know some of you do already work reference, one thing that you've got to realize is that the questions are, I shouldn't say they're rarely ever straightforward, but a lot of questions are just not straightforward. A lot of questions are people just coming in and saying, hey, I need this book, this specific book, or this specific article. Can you retrieve it for me? That does happen a lot, but there are going to be a lot of times also on these reference tests, folks, where you are kind of given partial information, where you have to sleuth around a little bit, where you really have to work at it, okay? And so it does require some patience and just some general, excuse me. It requires some patience and just some general willingness to actually turn every stone, if you will, or in order to actually arrive at some of these answers. And so that's something that I don't want to get lost, within this class. Once you are actually doing reference, you'll see what I mean. And in fact, I think a lot of the basic reference is going to start being handled by AI in the very near future. I hate to say that, but I think that's the case. I think that within the next 15 years, basic reference, like can you retrieve this article for me, is going to be something that is AI centered, so long as the profession can afford that type of AI and wants that type of AI. But I think that's what's coming. So we will have humans doing more of the things that are not as straightforward. So we do need to be prepared and braced for that. So having said that, one thing that I want you all to kind of note or keep in mind here is again, when it comes to these, I put this as an announcement in the class as well, but a clarification for these worksheets. So I wasn't telling y'all when I was saying, all right, so when I gave the advice that you might want to have 3 tabs open and have one tab be the actual worksheet itself, and then have a tab that is the database tab, and then have a third tab maybe for a search engine, so that you can look up things or look up how to use the database. I wasn't saying don't find the answers in the database. You still do need to find the answers in the database. Please use the database to find the answers. Again, I'm giving leeway and leniency on the Business Source Complete / Business Source Premier worksheet that you all did in week 1, but starting here in week 2, yes, you need to use Mergent to find all of the information, but you can Google, and I hope this is clarified through this announcement here. You can't just Google who is the chief executive of Revlon, for instance, but you can Google how do I find company executives in Mergent Online. Because what we need to do is learn how to use these databases and how to get comfortable with them. And I know that's not easy, because again, I'm a former business librarian and I have no business background. I haven't even worked in the for-profit sector since I worked in media. And media is kind of a different, when I was a newspaper reporter, that's kind of a different for-profit sector in and of itself, because you don't really have the same kind of competition that you might have in other for-profit sectors that you have in print media. We were the only newspaper local newspaper in town, local daily newspaper in town. And that tends to be the case actually with a lot, if not most, places that have a daily newspaper. Usually that daily newspaper that they have is the only one that's in town. Very few places, New York, Washington, DC being examples of places that have more than one daily paper, but that's not common these days. So I didn't have the same competition outlet. But for you all, yes, you've got to get comfortable using these databases. And what I did was one thing that I want you all to also know is that the worksheet questions are not questions that would specifically need a business librarian. That is very, very important for you all to know as well. The questions on these worksheets are actually things that a general reference librarian would be expected in a lot of places to answer. So if you do not realize that, then that is something that I am very, very, very adamant in warning you about right now. The things that a actual business librarian would handle are things that we're not actually going to be answering in this class, except for your final assignment. The things that you're using these business databases for to answer these questions, again, these are actually questions that general reference librarians would be asked and expected to try to answer without going to the business librarian. Okay, so I want that to be clear. All right, so yes, again, it's going to require patience. It's going to require you all to, on the fly, be able to try to look up things on Google as far as, okay, how do I find this? Because when you have patrons in front of you, that's a lot of times what you're going to be doing. If you're rusty on the database, you might just plug into Google, how do I find this information in this database? And see if Google has some sort of tutorial or steps. You can also use the help or any tutorials within the database itself. But I'm just saying all this to say, folks, yes, you are going to, you're not going to be able to just rely on Google and just try to get the information that people can use Google to get themselves, okay? Because most of the people who come to you actually are going to be able to Google these answers for themselves and not need a librarian to intervene. So that's another thing. But those people who Google for themselves may not be getting reliable information. And I will also say that for some of y'all who didn't use the database, but instead Googled the answers for the Business Source Complete worksheet, y'all got some things wrong. Quite a few of you got some of those things wrong because you were relying on Google and that information that you found wasn't correct. Now, a lot of you also did get the questions right. So Google is a mixed bag. It can be right or wrong. And the databases can actually be wrong at times, but there are people who work on these databases as their full-time jobs. So they try to keep that information accurate and up to date. All right, so that is pretty much it really with the state of the course update because, well, no, it's not. But I will say that the discussions are going well so far, so that's good. Overall, actually, the first worksheet actually did go very well overall for most of you. So, even if I do seem like I'm scolding a little bit, I do also want you all to know that you're on the right track. And again, business reference is something that makes people very nervous, but you have to step out of your comfort zone in librarianship. I think a lot of people go into librarianship thinking it's just going to be this pie job where they never really have to be out of their comfort zone. You're going to be out of your comfort zone a lot. And that hit me like a ton of bricks when I first started. But, take it from somebody who's done it. I'm giving you that warning. You're going to be out of your comfort zone a lot, and you are going to have to try to find information on the fly with somebody in front of you looking at you, and that can be a very, very uncomfortable experience at first. So please keep that in mind. There are, like I said, a few other state of the course updates that I need to do, so let's do those. Okay, so this is actually worth mentioning. This is the last part of the state of the course updates that I feel I need to bring to your attention right now. But it does need to be mentioned is that this right here, this actually will come back later on in the course. Now, we are talking about company, nonprofit, and small business research here. So this is why this is included in this module. But again, it's listed as optional here, this Indianapolis Public Library nonprofit series of videos. You probably don't have time to really be watching all of these, or you might not even have time to watch any of them at the moment. But again, there's a reason why this is here, and this is because even though it there's a reason why I'm talking about it, I should say right now. It is brought up here again because it's the nonprofit series, and so it matches again the theme of the week, which is company, nonprofit, and small business research. But one thing that I want you all to be aware of is that even though you're not required to watch all of these, or in fact any of these this week, if you do choose to watch your, I want you all to be aware basically of an assignment that's coming up later. It's not due until April 23rd because quite frankly, you are learning too much stuff right now in week 2 in order to do this week. It's just too early. I know I'll stress you out too much if I put this on your plate right now. However, I'm going to go to discussions here, and if you look at discussions, you will see that there is a assignment that's going to be due on April the 23rd. Where is it? Ah, yes, here we go. Sorry about that. Hold on for a second. Okay, that last post thing was actually throwing me off, and I apologize, but it was the last post thing was actually my post assigning you all videos. So this will again be due, as you see here, on April the 23rd. So you still got over a month. Don't worry about this right now. You can do it this week if you want to, and some of you are actually working ahead on your worksheets. So if you want to work ahead on this too, since this is the nonprofit week, that's fine. But again, you got a lot going on this week, so I don't blame you if you don't. But this is the videos that you have to choose from here are the same videos from the Indianapolis Public Library nonprofit playlist, at least for those of you who got assigned one of these videos. Now, there are more students than there are videos, so you will see, in fact, let me see if I can actually cover this up. Hold on. Okay, I can't cover it up, but what you will see if you go to this discussion thread, if you go to discussions and find this discussion prompt right here, what you'll find as the first comment is going to be a message from me or a post from me where I assign each of you who's in the class right now one of the videos from the nonprofit series to watch and then summarize and provide a reaction to. And it's only a 2-point assignment. It's not going to be grueling, but a 4-point assignment. It's not going to be grueling, but it's going to be 2 points for an accurate summary and then 2 points for your reaction. Again, it's not due until April 23rd, but if you have time and want to do it now, you may. But these videos that are listed optional in this module here at this time, one of the videos is going to be required for you to do the summary and react by April 23rd. But again, you've got more than a month to do that, so don't worry about doing it now if it's too much to do right now, because quite frankly, yes, there's a lot of content to kind of take in this week. All right, so that's pretty much it on that. Let's go ahead and we're going to actually work through last week's worksheet, and we might be doing that every week. I didn't do that the last time I taught this class, but if it's necessary, I do, like any professor, I know people have criticized me in the past for not being flexible and adjusting to my students. I actually do more than people realize, and I will say that one thing that I do as far as my students in the previous course, that the previous time that I taught this, which was a long time ago, it was like summer 2021. But the last time that I taught this class, the students really didn't need to review the worksheet answers. Like, they kind of got it and went on. But that was kind of a summer class, so I think like a lot of people were only taking that class, for instance. And then there were people who their work was slower in the summer, like they worked at an academic library and there were fewer students in the summer, or they were teachers and so they were off in the summer or something like that. So I say that to say that don't feel bad if you need more reinforcement for this class than the previous class did, because your circumstances are different, okay? I just want to make that clear. At the end of the day, I'm very, very pleased with the effort that you all have put in so far. And if you maintain the effort that you're putting in, you're going to be fine. But you do need me to kind of guide you through the course. If you didn't, then I would be out of a job. So, okay, let's go ahead and review those answers. And hopefully reviewing the answers and how to find them will help you all just be a little bit more comfortable with the database. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so as I mentioned, and this is something you all have to get used to, which is why I am not going to apologize for it, because even though you can say, oh man, Dr. Jason's kind of a jerk, he didn't he didn't bother to be precise in saying that we are using Business Source Premier instead of Business Source Complete. Again, what I'm going to tell you is, believe me, by the time you are 5 years into librarianship, you're going to be using those interchangeably just like everybody else does. So yes, that's the first thing to know. And again, things are not going to be very precise a lot of the times when you're a librarian. You have to figure out stuff that is presented to you and is not necessarily all that precise. But asking questions is the way to go, and that's what you all did. When I said that, when I said something about Business Source Complete, and then you all weren't able to find it, you came and you asked me questions about whether or not Business Source Premier and Business Source Complete were the same thing, or similar things, and they are indeed pretty much the same thing. So, Business Source Premier, we're going to go into it. And this is the default page that we have. So we are actually going to answer every single question that we had on the worksheet, just so you all can get a sense, okay? So what are two NAICS codes associated with the company Revlon, and how did you find these? So for one thing, when I talk about having a tab open for Google, this is exactly what I mean. So you are going to learn what NAICS codes are in the class, but you got hit with this question, and a lot of this is how library work happens, you all. Again, I am trying to prepare you for real world work. And a lot of times what happens is you're not even going to know these terms that people are coming at you with, and this is one of those times. So a lot of you did express, I had to look up what a NAICS code was. That's perfectly fine. But that's what's going to happen on when you are on the job. People are going to ask you these questions, and you're not even going to know what they mean. So the first thing you're going to have to do is Google what is a NAICS code, or Google what is ROI, or Google what a certain type of labor law, how it affects people, or that sort of thing. There are things that are just going to come up, and you're not going to know their definitions or know what they mean at first. So the first thing you're going to have to do is Google on the fly, find out, and then get some comfort. So I applaud those of you who went on ahead and said, okay, he's asking about NAICS codes. What even is that? And on the fly, you Googled it. That is exactly what you will do in your professional librarianship practice. So now that once you have Googled it and you know what a NAICS code is, now you're trying to find it. Here's how you do that. Now, because NAICS codes are things that you use in order to look up industries in particular, one thing that you're probably going to want to do is find basically something that's like an industry report or something like that. That is a great way to find a NAICS code using this database. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to search for Revlon, but I am going to search by company name. So right now it's defaulting into a keyword. I am going to default into a company name, company entity, hit search, and I'm brought to something like this. Now, if I see something that says MarketLine Industry Profile, this is an industry profile, hence the name, and so it's dealing with an industry. And so you can actually click it, and within your within your results list right here, well, not your results list, but within your record here, what you're going to have are a listing of NAICS codes and industry codes, and any of these would work. So any of these would be a NAICS code that you could use. What you probably want to do is contextualize it. So if you see more than one NAICS code, and most companies are going to have more than one relevant NAICS code. That's just going to be a thing, and it's another thing that makes business research tricky. But what you can do is you can kind of glean, if you're interacting with your patron, you can kind of glean what your patron is trying to discover through interacting with them. And let's say that your patron is actually focused on cosmetic stores. Then you can use this one in particular, and that might be the NAICS code that you actually use in order to do your research. Once you put that in, it says IC and then has that, but you can actually come over here and switch this to NAICS code or description, and then you can search. Well, that wasn't good, but I think maybe I just need to remove this. Yeah. So once you do that, if you're actually searching by NAICS code, that actually it's very, very helpful. NAICS codes are something that you have to kind of learn how to play around with very early on, because NAICS codes are actually useful in most of your business databases, and it does make your industry research a lot easier to pull off. Okay, so that is your first question. Let's get ready for our second. Okay, so our second question is going to be find a SWOT analysis for Walmart, and what are the 3 listed threats. What we can do to find our SWOT analysis is this. Actually, there are other ways to do this, and the other ways may be a little more precise, I should say. But really all you have to do this time around is do SWOT in one field, Walmart in one field, click search, and you're going to have Walmart SWOT analysis. Now, I actually want the one from 2017. So I want this one right here. There are some newer ones, but I'm going to go ahead and get this one right here. And then, yes, once you pull up that PDF full text, what you can do, because we are looking for our 3 listed threats, you can actually just do a Control F a lot of times and skip around that way. So that'll take you to threat, and then you see your 3 listed threats right there. All right, so that's how you answer that question. Let's go to the next. All right, so this one's actually going to be rather easy because all you have to do really in this case, and everyone got this one. Nobody had a problem with this one. All you have to do is, because not every question is going to be difficult, so there's no need for me to make every question difficult. No need, no need, no need. So we can go back and find a new search. And really all we have to do this time around is just plug that in. We don't even really need to change that to title probably. Nope, sure didn't. And then you just find it. And your word count is going to be right there again in your record information. So full text word count 271, and everybody got that right. Now with question 4, this can get a little tricky. So what you do is, if you are not able, and this happened to some of you, and that's okay. Again, we're in the learning phase. But if you do something like this, it may not work out for you. So, and this is something that you're actually going to experience on the desk. I assure you, you're going to experience something like this on the desk, and I have multiple times. So somebody might come to you and is like, okay, I need the stuff written by Julian Austin. And you plug that in, and this is all you get. This isn't really going to work. One thing that you probably want to do, and I know this seems like it's kind of a long way to go about things, but again, this is going to get you the best results. If you do, and make sure that your Boolean operator is and. If you do Austin and Julian, this is kind of tricky. You're not going to know this from the outset, but this is something I'm teaching you now. So some things are coming up, and they have Julian M. Austin. A lot of times people are not going to have the middle initial for one thing. Like they might be asking you for Julian Austin, but then you find out that you're actually looking for Julian M. Austin. That's okay. But the authors are authority controlled, okay? And what that means, or controlled vocabulary. And what that means is that you can actually click the name. And then this will take you to a listing of things that that author has written. Now, for the sake of time, I am going to let you know that the correct answer actually is the, excuse me, I'm going to look it up. So yes, even though Julian Austin has written for other publications, as you can see here, the one that he has written for the most is the American Journal of Agricultural Economics. So he also wrote for an Australian Journal for Economics, but this is the one that he has written for the most, or been published in the most, at least within this particular database, okay? And I know that one was a tricky one, but again, not everything can just be all that easy. But I would say that really, I think 4 of the 5 questions on this worksheet were pretty easy. And that one was probably the only one that really gave everyone some headache, but it did give everyone some headache. And then finally, when doing an advanced search, if you change the field to TK, this will cause the database to search for what type of information. You all, this is actually a very basic question that you all are going to, I think 3 of you get this one wrong. And this is one that really, you gotta learn this very, very quickly because this is one of the basic functions of a database. So changing the field to TK, what I mean here is when you go to an advanced search, so we're gonna do new search. And what I mean is this is changing the field. So select a field. If you change the field to TK, that is searching for a ticker symbol. Now, if you don't know what a ticker symbol is, again, that's something that you can Google, and that is a good way. Like as you encounter these terms, and this is how librarianship works, y'all. Again, trust me, I've been doing this for a long time. This is how librarianship works. When you are actually confronted with a term that you're not familiar with, so like if you don't know what a ticker symbol is, the thing to do is to go ahead and try to Google it or somehow look up what it means so that you can get just some sort of fundamental understanding of what it is. And that way, as you go on further, it demystifies these terms for you because the terms are likely to come up again. You, if you become a business librarian, are going to hear the term ticker symbol quite a bit. So that's really how you answer question number 5. You just drop this down and you find what it's saying, TK, ticker symbol, and it's just that simple. And that is this worksheet. That's everything. So, you know, everything, with the exception of question number 4, everything is actually really, really easy to find within Business Source Complete, and there shouldn't have been any need to go out of Business Source Complete or Business Source Premier in order to find it. But again, I know that we are in the learning phases right now, and I am very respectful of that. And that is, for one thing, that is why you only have 4 or 5 questions on the worksheet. Because originally, when I was planning this course about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I actually was planning to make the worksheets like 10 questions long. And the reason I decided against that was because, yes, if you are someone like me who's been doing this for a while, then you can do one that's like 10 questions long and not take too long. But for you all, they're 5 questions long or 4 questions long, so that even with just that few questions, you still might take an hour or 2 to complete it. So I didn't want to overwork you all, okay? There's a method to my madness, and I really, really am empathetic to you all in the situation that you're in. And so I want you to keep that in mind. Taking this class is one of the biggest challenges you're going to undertake in this program. It's not easy content, but again, it's going to make you more marketable if you make it through it. And hopefully you'll have some fun along the way learning these things. But again, Dr. Jace isn't crazy. My expectations really are not unreasonable, okay? I do want you all to know that. And so I hope that by going over these answers and by saying a few other things in this check-in video that has calmed your nerves a little bit and made you a little more comfortable and a little more settled and grounded. Because at the end of the day, yes, there's going to be discomfort, but also the cure for that discomfort is experience, okay? And I'm hoping that this course gives you that experience. All right, we are going to wrap it up there. I am very glad to have you all in this class. We are going to grow together. This is about growth, and we're going to grow together. We got this. Y'all take care. I'm Dr. Jace, and we will finish this race. I'll see you next week.